It calls one's soul because it's a power spot. Even all the way to Japan, people hear about Sedona, so it's famous worldwide. So it was 26 years ago that I first came here, and I heard the sound of a native flute. And that changed my life that day. So I started to learn how to make and play the instrument. As a tourist, and I was just finishing graduate school. So it was a pilgrimage. I spent 4 days driving across country by myself. So I was on my own soul-searching quest. And it was my first hike that I chose was out in Boynton Canyon. And I heard the sound of a native flute echoing through the canyon walls. And I couldn't see where it was coming from. So I had to trust my ears and follow my ears to get me up to finally this beautiful giant ancient ruin. And I met a man named Jesse Kalu, who also arrived in Sedona about 4 years before me, and he learned how to make and play the native flute as well. So Jesse and I had a lot of synchronicity running into each other, and then finally he calls me one day and he's like, "John, I know why we keep running into each other." So I was gonna go that very day and buy a flute from him, but he's like, no, you're gonna make your own flutes and start playing, and I'm here to be your guide for that. So I was forever grateful, and still to this day, for Jesse showing up as an angel, guiding me to start my whole new life path, which was playing the flute and pioneering shamanic sound healing. It took me about 6 months before often people come here and they're called to move here. They're like, I'm gonna move there, that's my home. They feel home inside their soul. Sometimes it's the fragrance of the land. That's what it was for me. As soon as I get out of the car, I could smell the earth and the trees and the red earth. It felt like home. And so that's what really, that and meeting Jesse and all the synchronicities that were happening to me in the short week that I spent here just kept calling me to the point where I had to move here myself. That's when Jesse told me about the flute. And then shortly, 2 months later, I met another man named Taka who introduced me to the didgeridoo, which is another ancient instrument from Red Earth, from Australia, from the original people, the people that have been there for over 50,000 years and playing this instrument in their sacred ceremonies. So it took about a year and a half for me to develop into the shamanic journey into Dreamtime Work, which was using sound as a way to help people go into altered states of consciousness, just like you would if you were to take a medicine plant and do a shamanic journey. So the music is the medicine. The music, because of the sounds of these instruments, whether it's the didgeridoo or the flute, the drum, they put people into a hypnotic trance. And in that trance-like state, which is very natural for everybody, we start to have the dreaming process as we are awake. So it's the people from Australia, they call this, the indigenous, the dream time, dreaming awake. So you're able to access more information in this heightened state of awareness. So I was asked to perform and play and do the journeys for different international groups. And that's how I ended up becoming international so quickly, was from this work. And there weren't very many people doing this kind of thing, where they were putting together different types of world instruments for the purpose of going on an inner journey. And what was also unique about this ceremony that I had designed was that it was twofold. It had two purposes. One, because of the music to help guide you through the ears, through listening, but there was also the physical component where the vibrations of these instruments would be played very close to a person, like a drum or the didgeridoo, and you could physically feel the vibration like getting a sonic massage. It was Masaru Imoto from Japan, actually, who came here to work with the Hopi. And he and I met here in Sedona and were paired up, and we traveled to Hopi together, and we talked a lot about how the vibrations affect the healing process. And so he was a big support, and he brought me, I was in Japan as well, in New York City, and we traveled and did work together. It was really wonderful. A beautiful bridge there. And then in Japan, also in other places, we got together and joined forces. I was always very interested in going to travel around the world and very interested in sacred sites. And so I was actually approached by this group where they said they asked me if I could travel anywhere in the world and do this type of ceremony. Where would I like to go? So I asked if I could go to Egypt and do this work inside the Great Pyramid. Because I imagined, wow, it must be incredible to play inside with all the vibration and the resonance and the spiritual energy. And so I was very lucky because they were able to bring me and arrange that to happen, and it was life-changing. And the vibration was beyond what I could ever have imagined. And I took a group with me, and so we had everybody having a chance to lay in the King's Chamber in the sarcophagus and receive the didgeridoo. And it was that first trip that opened the door for many more invitations to these other sacred sites around the planet, and sometimes even living in those places. And what's really fun about going and traveling around the world is I get to also learn new instruments from the different cultures, and then I start incorporating it into the work. And so these days I have so many types of instruments that I play in the sound healings, much more than what I began with. question. I'm always having dream time, and I do receive lots of inspiration from that. And so what normally happens, however, is I just follow spirit and what spirit is telling me to do and where to go. Sedona has always felt like its own bubble because it's so unique and special compared to other places in the world, especially in the United States. And the community here is very inspiring for me because of so many like-minded spiritual people. And it draws artists and musicians, and so I've been having so much fun collaborating with other artists on new projects since I've been here. And those collaborations are getting ready to release through different music albums, also tours. We're going to start traveling and bringing this out to the world. So much to love about Japan. It's in my soul. It's from my past life. It calls and draws me. And I've been told by many Japanese psychics about certain lifetimes that I had in Japan. I love the onsen. I love the food. I love the politeness of the people and the laughter and the silliness that also has my friends there. We're always laughing. And so all these things are what I love about Japan. And my message to the Japanese people at this time is when you're ready and you want to travel, and hopefully the US border is going to allow people to come freely without restrictions, that Sedona is waiting for you. Please come and we can share time together, and I offer a variety of different types of healing modalities, and it's beautiful, it's free, it's inspiring. The people here are kind and authentic, and if that's what you're missing in your life, please come visit. 本当に大好き日本。す
ごい締め方が最高これ。
Language is easy.